And keep your back straight like this. We're just working on her form.
Honey, it's not what it looks like.
The notification sound from Sophie's phone cut through the midnight silence like a digital knife. I paused, screwdriver halfway into the smart home panel, and listened. Another ping. Then another. At 12:30 in the morning, my wife was getting more messages than a teenage influencer during a brand launch, which, technically, she was. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Adam, you still messing with those wires? Sophie called from the bedroom, her voice carrying that fake sweetness she used when she was hiding something. Come to bed, babe. Just upgrading our security system, I called back, my fingers already dancing across my tablet. You know how paranoid I get about our digital footprint. If only she knew how paranoid. I'm Adam Richardson, 38 years old, senior IT specialist at Meridian Tech Solutions, and the guy who built every smart feature in this house from the ground up. Every camera, every sensor, every connected device runs through systems I designed and installed. Sophie always joked that I was like a digital god in our suburban temple. She stopped joking when she started cheating. The messages kept coming. Ping, ping, ping. I pulled up the home network monitor on my tablet. A little program I'd written that tracked all device activity in the house. Sophie's phone was lighting up like a Christmas tree, data packets flowing back and forth with someone whose contact info wasn't in her synced address book. Honey? Her voice again, closer now. I heard her padding down the hallway in those ridiculous fuzzy slippers she'd gotten from some brand partnership. What's taking so long? Almost done, I said, quickly closing the monitoring app and focusing on the actual security panel. Just want to make sure we're protected from any unwanted intrusions. Sophie appeared in the doorway, backlit by the hallway light, looking like the fitness influencer she'd become over the past 2 years. Even at midnight, even in pajamas, she maintained that camera-ready posture that had earned her 200,000 Instagram followers and enough sponsorship deals to quit her marketing job. You and your tech obsessions, she said, but her phone buzzed again in her hand, and her eyes flicked down to it automatically. I'm going to sleep. Don't stay up too late playing with your toys. She turned and walked away, but not before I caught the smile that crossed her face as she read whatever message had just arrived. It wasn't the smile she gave me anymore. This was something else entirely. Secretive, excited, guilty. I waited until I heard the bedroom door close, then pulled out my own phone and opened the home security app. Every room in our house had discrete cameras, installed with Sophie's full knowledge and consent for security purposes. She'd even bragged about them to her influencer friends, calling our place Fort Knox with better Wi-Fi. The bedroom camera showed her sitting on the edge of the bed, phone in both hands, typing rapidly. Her whole body language had changed. She was animated, engaged, alive in a way I hadn't seen her be around me in months. I switched to the network monitor and started tracing her data. The messages were going through Instagram's encrypted messaging system, but the metadata told a story. Timestamps showed this conversation had been going on for weeks. The data volume suggested photos and videos were being exchanged. And the frequency pattern indicated this wasn't just friendly chatter. This was intimate communication. My wife was having an affair, and she was doing it through the smart home system I'd built to protect us. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't destroying my marriage. I spent the next hour diving deeper into the digital evidence. Sophie had gotten sloppy with her operational security, probably because she assumed I was too busy with work to pay attention to her online activities. Her cloud storage was synced across all her devices, and I had administrative access to our shared family account. What I found there made my stomach turn. Photos of her at the gym, posing with a guy I didn't recognize, muscular, younger, with that generic handsome look that screamed personal trainer. Videos of workout sessions that looked more like foreplay than fitness instruction. screenshots of text conversations filled with innuendo and explicit planning. His name was Leo Martinez. 28 years old, certified personal trainer at Elite Fitness Studio, and according to his social media profile, a former college athlete who'd parlayed his looks and charm into a career training wealthy suburban women. Sophie had been seeing him for 2 months. I sat back in my desk chair, staring at the evidence spread across my multiple monitors. 2 months of lies, 2 months of extra training sessions and brand collaboration meetings that were actually hotel room encounters and gym closet quickies. My first instinct was to storm into the bedroom and confront them both, except Leo wasn't there, and confronting Sophie would only lead to tears, denials, and ultimately a messy divorce where she'd get half of everything I'd worked to build. No, I was an IT professional. I solved problems with logic, planning, and superior information. If Sophie wanted to play games with technology, she'd picked the wrong opponent. I opened a new document on my computer and started typing, Project, Stream Snapped, Digital Justice Initiative. If my wife wanted to destroy our marriage through social media and smart technology, then that's exactly how I'd destroy her right back. But I wouldn't just ruin her relationship. I'd ruin her entire carefully crafted online persona, her influencer career, and her precious public image. Sophie Richardson had built her life on being perfect for the camera. Time to show her followers what she looked like when the cameras caught everything. The next morning, Sophie bounced into the kitchen like she was filming a breakfast commercial. She'd already done her hair and makeup, wearing one of those athletic wear outfits that cost more than most people's rent. Her phone was propped against the coffee maker, recording her authentic morning routine for her Instagram stories. "Good morning, beautiful humans," she chirped at the camera, then turned to me with a significantly less enthusiastic smile. "Morning, Adam. I've got back-to-back training sessions today, so I'll be home late." "Training sessions," I repeated, stirring my coffee. "With your new trainer, right? Leo?" Sophie's hand froze for just a microsecond as she reached for her protein shake, but she recovered smoothly. "Yeah, he's amazing. Really pushing me to the next level. You should meet him sometime." "I'd love to," I said, and meant it. "Maybe I'll stop by the gym later." "Oh, you don't need to do that," she said quickly. "You hate gyms. Besides, you're always so busy with work." She grabbed her gym bag, a designer piece from one of her sponsorship deals, and kissed me on the cheek with the mechanical precision of a wife going through the motions. "Love you. See you tonight." After she left, I spent an hour reviewing the security footage from the past week. Sophie's patterns were becoming clear. She'd leave for the gym at 9, but her car's GPS tracker showed she was making stops at places that definitely weren't Elite Fitness Studio, coffee shops, parks, and twice at the Marriott downtown. I pulled up Leo's social media profiles and started building a comprehensive digital dossier. The guy was exactly what I'd expected. All surface, no substance. His Instagram was full of shirtless gym selfies, motivational quotes about grinding and living your best life, and photos with various female clients who all seemed to adore him. But Leo had made the same operational security mistakes that Sophie had. His location services were enabled, his social media was public, and he'd connected his professional accounts to his personal ones. Within an hour, I had his home address, his work schedule, his financial information, and a complete list of his other clients, several of whom were married women with suspiciously frequent training sessions. This guy wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was running a whole operation. At work that day, I pulled my colleague Bill Henderson aside. Bill was a cybersecurity specialist, 42 years old, divorced, and cynical about relationships in general. If anyone would understand my situation and help me navigate the technical aspects of my revenge, it was him. "Hypothetically," I said, settling into the chair next to his workstation, "if someone wanted to monitor their home network for security threats, what would be the most comprehensive approach?" Bill looked up from his code, eyebrows raised. Hypothetically? Or are you dealing with something specific? Let's call it a practical exercise in network security. He laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Brother, I've been through this dance. My ex-wife thought she was smarter than the guy who secured her company's entire IT infrastructure. Spoiler alert, she wasn't. So what did you do? Legally, I documented everything, every message, every photo, every lie. Built an airtight case that made the divorce proceedings very straightforward. He leaned back in his chair. Personally, I made sure she understood that cheating on someone who controls your digital life is a career-limiting move. Care to elaborate? Bill glanced around the office, then pulled up a secure messaging app on his computer. Not here. But if you want to grab drinks after work, I might have some insights into comprehensive home security monitoring. That evening at Murphy's Bar downtown, Bill laid out a masterclass in digital surveillance and counterintelligence. Over 3 beers and a plate of wings, he explained how to use legitimate security tools for comprehensive monitoring, how to document evidence that would hold up in court, and how to protect yourself legally while gathering information. The key, he said, is that everything you do has to be defensible. You own the house, you own the network, you installed the security systems with your wife's knowledge and consent. You're not hacking, you're administering your own systems. And if I wanted to, hypothetically, share that information with relevant parties, well, if security footage happened to capture something newsworthy, and that footage happened to find its way to people who might be interested in it. He shrugged. Accidents happen, systems glitch, files get sent to the wrong recipients. I bought the next round. When I got home that night, Sophie was already in bed, but her bedside lamp was on, and she was on her phone. Again. How were your training sessions? I asked, changing into pajamas. Great, she said without looking up. Leo thinks I'm ready to start working on some advanced techniques. I bet he does. She finally glanced at me. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just that it's nice you found someone who believes in your potential. Sophie studied my face for a moment, looking for sarcasm or suspicion, but I kept my expression neutral. After 15 years of marriage, I'd learned to hide my thoughts when necessary. Yeah, she said finally. He really sees something special in me. I'm sure he does. That night, after Sophie fell asleep, I implemented Bill's suggestions. I upgraded our home security system with additional monitoring capabilities, installed new software on our shared devices, and set up automated backup systems that would preserve any evidence I gathered. I also started building profiles on Sophie's inner circle, her best friend Maya Chen, who ran a lifestyle blog and had introduced Sophie to the influencer world. Maya's friend Kat Williams, who managed social media for several local fitness personalities and had connections throughout the industry. Both of them had been suspiciously supportive of Sophie's fitness journey and her increased time at the gym. Both of them had been liking and commenting on Leo's social media posts, and both of them had been tagged in recent photos at restaurants and events where Sophie claimed to be at training sessions. They knew. They were covering for her, which meant they were part of the problem. By the end of the week, I had a complete intelligence picture of my wife's affair and the network of people supporting it. I knew when they met, where they went, what they did, and who was helping them keep it secret. Now it was time to start dismantling their little conspiracy, piece by piece. The first step would be a reconnaissance mission to Elite Fitness Studio. Time to meet Leo Martinez in person and let him know that Sophie's husband was paying attention. Elite Fitness Studio occupied a converted warehouse in the trendy downtown district, all exposed brick and industrial lighting designed to appeal to upscale professionals who wanted to feel edgy while doing yoga. I'd driven past it dozens of times, but never had a reason to go inside. Now I had the best reason of all. I'd timed my visit for Thursday afternoon when Sophie's calendar showed a private training session with Leo. I wanted to see them together, gauge their body language, and introduce myself to the man who was sleeping with my wife. The gym was exactly what I'd expected: expensive equipment, attractive staff, and clientele that looked like they'd stepped out of a fitness magazine. I approached the front desk where a perky blonde in designer athletic wear was typing on an iPad. "Hi there, welcome to Elite Fitness. Are you interested in a membership or personal training consultation?" "Actually, I'm looking for my wife," I said, pulling out my phone to show her Sophie's Instagram profile. "Sophie Richardson? She trains here with Leo Martinez." The receptionist's smile flickered slightly. "Oh, Sophie. Yes, she's in Studio B with Leo right now. They should be finishing up soon. Are you Adam? She's mentioned you." "All good things, I hope." "Of course. Leo's our most popular trainer. All the ladies love working with him." "I bet they do." "Would it be okay if I waited? Maybe grabbed a water and looked around?" "Absolutely. Help yourself to the complimentary beverages. The tour can wait until Sophie's done. We don't like to interrupt Leo's sessions. He's very focused." She handed me a visitor badge and pointed toward a seating area with a clear view of the studio spaces. Through the glass wall of Studio B, I could see Sophie and Leo in the middle of what was supposedly a fitness session. They were standing close together, Leo's hands on Sophie's waist as he adjusted her form for a squat exercise. His touch lingered longer than necessary, and Sophie was laughing at something he'd said, her head tilted back in a way that exposed her neck. It was intimate, flirtatious, completely inappropriate for a professional trainer-client relationship. I pulled out my phone and discreetly recorded 30 seconds of video, making sure to capture their body language and the timestamp. Evidence for the file I was building. "Excuse me," said a voice behind me. I turned to find a woman in her 50s, silver-haired and sharp-eyed, wearing the kind of expensive workout clothes that screamed, "I don't actually sweat." "Are you waiting for someone?" she continued. "I don't think I've seen you here before." "Adam Richardson," I said, extending my hand. "My wife Sophie trains here." The woman's expression changed instantly, a mix of surprise and something that looked almost like pity. Oh my. I'm Linda Hartwell. Well, this is awkward." "Is it?" Linda glanced toward Studio B, then back at me. "Honey, I don't know how to tell you this, but your wife and that trainer, they're not just doing squats in there." "What do you mean?" "I mean, I've seen them together outside the gym, at restaurants holding hands, at the Marriott downtown, going into the same room." She lowered her voice. "I'm sorry, but I thought you should know." I let my face show the appropriate level of shock and hurt. "Are you sure?" "I'm a retired journalist, sweetheart. I know what I see, and what I see is a young man taking advantage of married women who are looking for attention their husbands aren't giving them." "Other married women?" "Oh, yes. Leo's quite the operator. He's got at least 3 or 4 regular clients who he's mentoring, outside of normal business hours." This was better than I'd hoped. Linda Hartwell wasn't just a witness. She was a source with information about Leo's entire operation. "Mrs. Hartwell, would you be willing to tell me more about what you've observed? Maybe over coffee sometime?" She studied my face, probably trying to gauge whether I was the type of husband who'd blame the messenger or appreciate the information. "You seem like a nice man, Adam, and I don't like seeing people get taken advantage of. Yes, I think we should talk." We exchanged phone numbers just as the studio door opened and Sophie emerged with Leo. She was glowing with post-workout endorphins and something else entirely, while Leo had his hand on the small of her back in a gesture that was definitely not professional. They both froze when they saw me. "Adam!" Sophie's voice pitched higher than normal. "What are you doing here?" "Thought I'd finally meet your trainer," I said, standing up and extending my hand toward Leo. "You must be Leo Martinez. I'm Adam Richardson, Sophie's husband." Leo hesitated for just a moment before shaking my hand. His grip was firm, probably meant to intimidate, but I'd been expecting that. What I hadn't expected was how young he looked up close. Not just 28, but young in the way that suggested he'd never faced real consequences for his actions. "Nice to meet you, man," he said, flashing the kind of smile that probably worked on his usual targets. "Sophie's told me so much about you. You're in computers, right?" "Information technology," I corrected. "I design and manage digital security systems. I make sure people's private information stays private, and I track down threats to my clients' digital infrastructure." The smile faltered slightly. "Good. Let him wonder what that meant." "That's cool, man. Very cool." Leo turned to Sophie. "Same time next week?" "Definitely," Sophie said, her voice still unnaturally bright. "Thanks for the amazing session." Leo nodded to both of us and walked away, but not before I caught him glancing back at Sophie with a look that confirmed everything I'd suspected. "So," I said, as we walked toward the parking lot, "he seems nice." "He's a great trainer," Sophie replied, but she was avoiding eye contact. "Really knows his stuff?" "I'm sure he does. Mrs. Hartwell inside was telling me how popular he is with his female clients." Sophie's step hitched slightly. "Mrs. Hartwell?" "Older lady, silver hair, very observant. She seems to know a lot about what goes on around here." We reached our cars. We'd driven separately, which I now realized was probably so Sophie could make extracurricular stops without me tracking her movements. "I'll see you at home," Sophie said, getting into her BMW. "I need to stop by the store." "Take your time," I said. "I've got some work to catch up on anyway." As she drove away, I noticed she was already on her phone before she'd even left the parking lot. Probably texting Leo about our encounter, trying to figure out how much I suspected and what they needed to do about it. They were about to find out that when you're dealing with someone who builds digital security systems for a living, paranoia isn't a character flaw. It's a professional skill, and I was very, very good at my job. Linda Hartwell turned out to be a goldmine of information. We met the next afternoon at a coffee shop downtown, and within an hour I had a comprehensive understanding of Leo Martinez's operation that went far beyond my wife. "He's been doing this for at least 2 years, Linda explained, stirring her latte with the precision of someone who'd spent decades gathering facts. "Always the same pattern. Targets married women in their 30s and 40s, usually ones with disposable income and social media presence." "Social media presence?" "Oh yes. Leo's very strategic about that. He gets them to post about their fitness journey and tag him in their content. Free advertising, plus it makes their husbands think the relationship is just professional." I pulled out my notebook. "How many women are we talking about?" "Currently active? I'd say 4, including your Sophie. There's Jessica Walsh, she owns that boutique on 5th Street. Maria Santos, she's married to the city councilman. And Tiffany Chen, she runs that wellness blog." I nearly choked on my coffee. "Tiffany Chen? As in Maya Chen's sister?" "You know Maya?" "Yes, Tiffany's her younger sister, married to that real estate developer. What's his name?" "David Chen." The pieces were falling into place. Maya Chen, Sophie's best friend and influencer mentor, had to know that her own sister was involved with Leo, which meant Maya wasn't just covering for Sophie, she was part of a whole network of women protecting Leo's operation. "Mrs. Hartwell, you said you were a journalist. Did you ever think about exposing this?" Linda laughed bitterly. "Honey, I tried, but these women don't want to be saved. They're getting something out of the arrangement, attention, excitement, the thrill of having a secret. And Leo's careful. He never puts anything in writing that could be used against him. What about photos, video evidence? I've got plenty, but what am I going to do with it? Go to their husbands? Destroy 4 marriages because I don't like seeing people get played?" I leaned forward. "What if I told you that one of those husbands already knows, and he's looking for a way to handle this that doesn't involve lawyers or violence?" Linda studied my face. "You're planning something." "I'm planning justice. Leo Martinez has built his whole life around manipulating women and destroying marriages. I think it's time someone showed him what it feels like to have his life turned inside out. And the women? Your wife and the others? They made their choices. But they made those choices based on lies and manipulation. Maybe it's time they understood the real cost of those decisions. Linda was quiet for a long moment, then reached into her purse and pulled out a small digital camera. "I've been documenting Leo's activities for 6 months," she said. "Photos, video, detailed notes about times and locations. I told myself I was gathering evidence in case someone got hurt, but really, I think I was waiting for someone like you to show up." She handed me a memory card. "Everything's on there. But Adam, if you're going to do this, you need to be smart about it. Leo's got friends, and some of these women have powerful husbands who won't appreciate having their private business exposed." "I'm not interested in hurting innocent people," I said. "But Leo and the people who enable him, they've got this coming." That evening, I spent hours reviewing Linda's evidence. She'd been thorough. Photos of Leo with various women at restaurants, hotels, and private locations. Video of intimate conversations and physical contact that went way beyond professional training relationships. Detailed logs of his schedule and the patterns of his affairs. Combined with my own digital surveillance, I now had enough evidence to destroy Leo's career and reputation. But that wasn't enough. I wanted him to understand what it felt like to be betrayed by people he trusted. I started with his social media accounts. Leo had made the classic mistake of using the same password across multiple platforms, and his security questions were laughably easy to guess. Within an hour, I had access to his Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and professional fitness accounts. But I didn't change anything. Not yet. Instead, I installed monitoring software that would track his messages, record his posts, and document his communications with his various clients. I wanted to understand the full scope of his operation before I started dismantling it. What I found was even worse than I'd expected. Leo wasn't just sleeping with married women, he was blackmailing them. Screenshots of his private messages showed him demanding money, gifts, and referrals from his clients in exchange for keeping their affairs secret. He had explicit photos and videos that he used as leverage, and he'd been systematically exploiting these women for months. Sophie had given him over $5,000 in the past 2 months, supposedly for specialized training equipment and nutrition supplements. Maria Santos had bought him a new car. Jessica Walsh had been funneling money from her boutique's accounts to pay for his apartment. This wasn't just adultery, it was organized financial exploitation. I copied everything to encrypted drives, backed up the evidence to secure cloud storage, and started building a comprehensive case file. But I also started planning something more immediate. Leo Martinez was about to learn that when you build your life on secrets and lies, you're vulnerable to anyone who controls information systems. And I controlled a lot more than he realized. The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove to Leo's apartment complex. It was a generic upscale development, the kind of place that attracted young professionals who wanted to look successful without actually earning it. I'd already hacked the building's security system, another case of default passwords and poor network security, so I knew Leo's schedule, his visitors, and his daily routines. He left for the gym at 8:30 every morning and didn't return until after 7 p.m. That gave me plenty of time to install some additional monitoring equipment. I'd brought a collection of devices that looked like standard home electronics, but were actually sophisticated surveillance tools. A wireless router that would intercept and record all network traffic in his apartment. A smart speaker that would activate recording functions based on voice recognition software. A digital picture frame that contained a hidden camera system. I had them installed and configured within an hour, and Leo would never know they were anything other than gifts from his various admirers. The router replaced his existing one. He'd assume his internet service provider had upgraded his equipment. The speaker and picture frame would blend in with the other gifts that cluttered his apartment. By the time I left, I had complete surveillance coverage of Leo's home, just like I had of my own. Now it was time to start applying pressure. That afternoon, I sent anonymous messages to Jessica Walsh, Maria Santos, and Tiffany Chen. Nothing threatening, just simple questions. Does your husband know about your training sessions with Leo? And have you seen the photos Leo keeps on his phone? I wanted them scared. I wanted them paranoid. I wanted them to start questioning whether their secret was as safe as they thought. Then I waited to see how they'd react. The anonymous messages had their intended effect. Within 24 hours, Leo's carefully managed world started showing cracks. Jessica Walsh canceled her training sessions and blocked Leo's number. Maria Santos had a screaming fight with him in the gym parking lot, captured on the facility's security cameras, which I'd also gained access to. Tiffany Chen sent him a panicked series of texts demanding to know who else knew about their relationship. But the most interesting reaction came from Maya Chen. I was monitoring the home network when Sophie's phone exploded with calls and messages from her best friend. The conversation, captured through the smart speaker system I'd installed in our bedroom, was enlightening. "Sophie, we have a problem." Maya's voice was tight with stress. "Someone knows about Leo." "Knows what about Leo?" Sophie tried to play innocent, but her voice was shaking. "Don't be stupid. Someone sent Tiffany a message asking about her training sessions. They know, Sophie. Someone knows about all of us." "All of us?" "Me, you, Tiffany, the others. We're all connected to Leo, and someone's figured it out." There was a long pause before Sophie spoke again. "Do you think it's Adam?" "I don't know. But if it is, you need to figure out how much he knows and what he's planning to do about it. Adam's not... He wouldn't... Sophie, wake up. Your husband builds security systems for a living. If anyone could figure this out, it's him." That evening, Sophie tried to act normal, but I could see the stress in every movement. She kept checking her phone, jumping at every notification, watching me for signs that I suspected something. I decided it was time to escalate. "How was training today?" I asked over dinner. "Fine," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Just the usual routine. Funny thing, though, I was talking to Bill Henderson at work, and he mentioned seeing you at the Marriott downtown last week. Said you were with some guy he didn't recognize." Sophie's fork clattered against her plate. "Bill must be mistaken. I wasn't at the Marriott." "Are you sure? Because I could check our credit card statements, or maybe look at your phone's location history." "Why would you do that?" I shrugged. "Just curious. You've been spending a lot of time away from home lately, and I want to make sure you're safe." Sophie stared at me across the table, and I could see her trying to figure out how much I knew and how much I was guessing. "Adam, is there something you want to ask me?" "Should there be?" We sat in silence for a moment, the tension thick enough to cut. Finally, Sophie pushed back from the table. "I'm going out," she said. "Maya wants to talk about some collaboration project." "At 9 o'clock at night?" "It's when we're both free." She grabbed her purse and keys and headed for the door, but paused at the threshold. "Adam, I love you. You know that, right?" "I know you love the life we've built together," I said. "The question is whether you love it enough to stop destroying it." Sophie left without another word. I immediately pulled up the tracking software on her phone. Instead of going to Maya's house, she drove straight to Leo's apartment complex. The network monitoring showed 3 phones connecting to Leo's Wi-Fi within minutes of each other. Sophie's, Maya's, and one I didn't recognize, but assumed belonged to Cat Williams. They were having an emergency meeting to figure out their next move. Through the surveillance equipment I'd installed in Leo's apartment, I could hear fragments of their panicked conversation. "Has to be Adam. What if he has evidence? Need to be smart about this. Maybe we should just come clean." That last voice was Sophie's, but it was immediately shot down by the others. "Are you insane?" Maya's voice was sharp. "Do you know what this would do to all of us, to our careers, our marriages?" Maya's right. Leo's voice smooth and confident even under pressure. "We just need to be more careful. Maybe take a break for a few weeks until this blows over. A break? Sophie sounded hurt. Is that what you want? Baby, it's not about what I want. It's about protecting what we have. I'd heard enough. It was time to remind them that they weren't the only ones who could play games. I accessed Leo's social media accounts and posted a single message across all his platforms. Sometimes the best training happens outside the gym. Ask my clients about my specialized one-on-one sessions. Personal training. Private sessions. Worth it. The post included a photo of Leo shirtless in what was clearly a hotel room, with women's clothing visible in the background. Within minutes, Leo's phone was buzzing with notifications as his followers started commenting and sharing the post. I could hear him swearing in the apartment as he tried to figure out how the post had appeared on his accounts. "Someone's hacked my social media," he said to the women. "This is bad. This is really bad." "Can you delete it?" Maya asked. "I'm trying, but it's not responding. It's like someone else is controlling my accounts." Because someone was. I waited until they were really panicking, then I deleted the post and restored Leo's access to his accounts. But the damage was done. Screenshots had been taken, questions had been asked, and Leo's carefully maintained professional image had been cracked. More importantly, I demonstrated that I could reach them anywhere, anytime, in ways they couldn't predict or prevent. The meeting broke up shortly after midnight, with the three women leaving separately, and Leo pacing his apartment like a caged animal. I watched him through the hidden cameras as he checked and rechecked his social media accounts, changed his passwords, and tried to figure out how someone had gained access to his digital life. He had no idea that changing his passwords wouldn't help, because I wasn't getting access through his accounts. I was getting it through his devices, his network, and his physical environment. The next morning, Sophie was subdued and distracted. She kept checking her phone and jumping at every sound. When I asked if she was feeling all right, she just said she had a headache and needed some space to think. "Maybe you should take a break from training for a few days," I suggested. "Give yourself time to rest and recover." "Maybe," she said, but I could see the conflict in her eyes. She was torn between self-preservation and her addiction to the excitement Leo provided. That afternoon, I received a call from Linda Hartwell. "Adam, something's happening at the gym. Leo's been acting strange all day, paranoid, checking his phone constantly, looking over his shoulder, and 3 of his regular clients canceled their sessions." "Interesting. Any idea what might have spooked them?" "Well, there was some kind of social media incident last night, a post that appeared and disappeared from Leo's accounts. People are starting to ask questions." "What kind of questions?" "The kind that might make certain married women very nervous about being associated with him." I smiled. "Sounds like Leo's having a bad week. Adam, whatever you're doing, be careful. Cornered animals can be dangerous, and Leo's starting to look desperate." Linda was right to be concerned. But she didn't understand that I wasn't just trying to corner Leo. I was trying to make him so desperate that he'd make mistakes. Big, public, irreversible mistakes that would destroy him more thoroughly than any evidence I could present. Because the best revenge isn't just proving someone is guilty, it's making them destroy themselves. Sophie's big break came on a Wednesday morning in the form of a phone call from Vanessa Martinez, a brand representative for FitLife Athletics, one of the major athletic wear companies that had been courting Sophie for months. "Sophie, darling, we have an incredible opportunity." Vanessa's voice carried that artificial enthusiasm that marketing people perfected. "We want you to be the face of our new Authentic Fitness campaign." I was listening through the smart home system as Sophie paced the kitchen, phone pressed to her ear, practically vibrating with excitement. "The centerpiece would be a live streaming event," Vanessa continued. 90 minutes of authentic workout content, lifestyle tips, and brand integration. We're talking about $100,000, plus ongoing sponsorship deals if the metrics hit our targets. 100,000? Sophie's voice cracked. "Are you serious?" "Absolutely serious. We want to do it next Friday at Elite Fitness Studio. Your trainer Leo can be part of it. We love the authentic trainer-client dynamic you two have. Very aspirational. If only she knew how authentic that dynamic really was. Vanessa, this is incredible. Yes, absolutely yes. After Sophie hung up, she immediately called Leo, Maya, and Kat to share the news. Within an hour, they were all at our house, celebrating and planning what they saw as Sophie's big breakthrough into major influencer status. I stayed in my home office, ostensibly working, but actually monitoring their conversation and planning my own version of Sophie's big moment. This is it, Maya was saying. This is what we've been building toward. Sophie, you're about to become a major player. The live stream format is perfect, Kat added. So much more authentic than produced content. People love seeing the real, unfiltered version. Real and unfiltered. They had no idea how real and unfiltered this was about to get. Leo, you'll need to be amazing, Sophie said. This could be huge for both of us. Baby, when have I ever let you down? Leo's voice carried that cocky confidence that had attracted Sophie in the first place. We've got this. Over the next week, Sophie threw herself into preparation for the live stream. She planned her workout routines, coordinated her outfits with the brand requirements, and practiced her on-camera patter. She was more excited and energetic than I'd seen her in years. It was almost sad how much this meant to her. Almost. While Sophie was preparing for her moment of triumph, I was preparing for her moment of truth. I'd spent months gathering evidence of her affair with Leo, but I'd been waiting for the right opportunity to release it. A live stream to 100,000 viewers, sponsored by a major brand, with all her friends and followers watching. That was the opportunity I'd been waiting for. But I didn't want to just expose the affair. I wanted to expose the entire network of lies, manipulation, and financial exploitation that Leo had built around himself and that Sophie had become part of. I started with Leo's other victims. Using the evidence Linda Hartwell had gathered, plus my own surveillance data, I created comprehensive dossiers on each of Leo's affairs. Photos, videos, financial records, and communication logs that showed the full scope of his operation. Then, I sent anonymous packages to the husbands. David Chen, Tiffany's real estate developer husband, received a folder containing photos of his wife with Leo at various hotels and restaurants, along with bank records showing the money she'd been funneling to him. Marcus Walsh, Jessica's attorney husband, got similar evidence about his wife's affair, plus documentation of the business funds she'd been embezzling to pay for Leo's lifestyle. Robert Santos, the city councilman married to Maria, received the most comprehensive package of all, not just evidence of the affair, but proof that his wife had been using city contractor connections to get Leo discounted services and equipment. I timed the deliveries so that all three men would receive their packages on Thursday, the day before Sophie's big live stream. The reaction was swift and devastating. By Thursday evening, Leo's world was collapsing. David Chen had confronted Tiffany and was filing for divorce. Marcus Walsh had frozen Jessica's access to their business accounts and was threatening criminal charges. Robert Santos was facing a potential ethics investigation based on his wife's misuse of city connections. All three women were panicking, and all three were calling Leo demanding that he fix the situation somehow. I monitored Leo's apartment as he fielded increasingly desperate phone calls from his former clients. The cocky confidence was gone, replaced by barely controlled panic. "I don't know how this happened," he kept saying. "Someone's targeting us. Someone knows everything." But the worst was yet to come. Friday morning, the day of Sophie's live stream, I implemented the final phase of my plan. I'd gained access to the Elite Fitness Studios network weeks earlier, including their streaming equipment and social media management systems. While Sophie and Leo were setting up for their big moment, I was preparing to give their audience something they'd never forget. The live stream began at 2 p.m., with Sophie looking radiant and professional in her FitLife athletics gear. Leo stood beside her in matching workout clothes, the picture of a dedicated personal trainer, ready to guide viewers through an authentic fitness experience. "Hello, beautiful humans," Sophie beamed at the camera. "I'm Sophie Richardson, and this is my amazing trainer, Leo Martinez. We're here to show you that fitness isn't just about looking good, it's about feeling strong, confident, and authentic in your own skin." The viewer count was climbing rapidly. 50,000, 75,000, approaching the 100,000 mark that would trigger Sophie's bonus payments. "Today, Leo and I are going to take you through some of our favorite exercises," Sophie continued. "These are the same routines that have transformed my body and my life over the past few months." "That's right, Sophie," Leo said, flashing his trademark smile at the camera. "We've developed a very special, very personal training relationship that's produced incredible results." The comments were flowing in from viewers, full of heart emojis and fire symbols and requests for specific exercises. Sophie was glowing with the attention and validation. That's when I activated the override. The main camera feed suddenly cut to a split screen, showing security camera footage from various locations around town. Hotel lobbies, restaurant patios, gym parking lots, all showing Sophie and Leo together in clearly intimate situations. Sophie's face went white as she realized what was happening. Leo spun toward the technical booth, but the streaming equipment was no longer under the studio's control. "What's happening?" Sophie whispered, but her microphone was still live, broadcasting her panic to the growing audience. The footage continued to roll, showing progressively more damaging evidence. Sophie and Leo kissing in his car, entering hotel rooms together, Leo with his hands all over Sophie during supposedly professional training sessions. The viewer count was exploding, 120,000, 150,000. But the comments had changed from supportive to shocked to outraged. "Turn it off!" Leo shouted, but the technical staff were frantically trying to regain control of their own equipment. That's when the audio kicked in. I'd been recording Leo's conversations in his apartment for weeks, and I'd saved the most damaging clips for this moment. His voice filled the studio, crystal clear through the sound system. "These married women are so easy to manipulate. They're desperate for attention, and they'll pay anything to feel special." Sophie staggered backward, staring at the screens in horror. Leo's recorded voice continued. "Sophie's the best one yet. Her husband's some computer nerd who doesn't pay attention to her. She's given me $5,000 already, and I bet I can get more." "That's not... I never..." Leo was trying to deny his own words, but the audio was clearly his voice, and the context made his meaning unmistakable. The final clip was the most devastating. "The best part is they think I actually care about them, but they're just ATMs with daddy issues. Sophie, Jessica, Maria, Tiffany, they're all the same, lonely, insecure, and loaded." Sophie was crying now, mascara running down her face, her perfect influencer image crumbling in real time in front of 170,000 viewers. The comments were brutal. "OMG, Sophie's husband needs to see this. This is so fake and staged, right? Leo is such a scumbag. Sophie, you're better than this. This is the most authentic fitness content I've ever seen." Vanessa Martinez was screaming into her phone, trying to get FitLife's legal team to shut down the stream, but I'd routed it through multiple platforms and backup servers. Even if they eliminated the primary feed, mirror streams were already broadcasting across social media. Sophie finally found her voice. This is fake. Someone's hacking the stream. This isn't real." But Leo had broken. The pressure, the exposure, the complete destruction of his carefully built image. It was too much. "It's not fake, Sophie," he shouted. "It's all true. And you know what? I'm tired of pretending to care about you and all the other desperate housewives who throw themselves at me." The studio fell silent except for Sophie sobbing and the sound of 200,000 viewers typing comments faster than the system could display them. Leo stormed off the set, leaving Sophie alone in front of the cameras, her marriage, her career, and her reputation in ruins. The stream finally cut to black, but it was too late. Clips were already being shared across every social media platform, news outlets were picking up the story, and Sophie Richardson had indeed gone viral, just not the way she'd planned. I closed my laptop and walked to the kitchen to make myself a sandwich. It had been a very productive afternoon. The fallout from the livestream was immediate and devastating. Within hours, Dr. Sophie Gate was trending on Twitter. Clips of the disaster were all over TikTok, and news outlets were running stories about the fitness influencer affair scandal. Sophie came home that evening looking like she'd aged 10 years in a single day. Her eyes were red from crying, her designer workout clothes were wrinkled and stained, and her phone was buzzing constantly with calls and messages she was afraid to answer. "Adam," she said, standing in our kitchen doorway like she wasn't sure she was still welcome in her own home. "We need to talk." "I figured we might," I said, not looking up from my laptop. "How was your big day?" "You know how it was. You did this. Somehow, you did all of this." I finally looked at her, taking in the full extent of her devastation. Part of me felt sorry for her. She looked broken, humiliated, lost. But a larger part of me felt satisfied. This was justice. "I didn't make you have an affair, Sophie. I didn't make you lie to me for months. I didn't make you steal money from our joint accounts to pay for your boyfriend's lifestyle. You don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You got bored with our marriage, so you decided to spice things up with a 28-year-old trainer who saw you as an easy mark. You thought you were smarter than me, thought I was too busy with work to notice what you were doing." Sophie sank into a chair at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten breakfast together that morning when she was still excited about her big break. "How long have you known?" "Months. I've been watching, documenting, planning, waiting for the right moment to show you and everyone else who you really are." "And Leo?" "Leo's finished. His social media accounts are deleted, his clients have all dropped him, and Elite Fitness fired him about an hour ago. Last I heard he was packing his car to leave town." Sophie was quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands. "What happens now?" "Now you get to experience what it feels like to have your life destroyed by someone you trusted." My phone rang. It was Bill Henderson from work. "Adam, holy shit, man. I just saw the video. Is that really your wife?" "Yeah, that's really my wife." "Dude, I'm sorry, but also, damn, you really went nuclear on this." "Sometimes nuclear is the only option that gets results." After I hung up, Sophie was staring at me with an expression I'd never seen before, fear mixed with something that might have been respect. "You're not the man I married," she said. "No, I'm not. The man you married was naive enough to trust you. The man you married believed that 15 years of marriage meant something to you. The man you married would have tried to work things out, go to counseling, find a way to forgive you." I closed my laptop and looked directly at her. "But that man died when I found those videos on your phone. What you're looking at now is someone who's very good at solving problems, and you became a problem that needed solving." Sophie's phone buzzed with another call. She glanced at it and winced. "That's my mother. She saw the video. Everyone's seen the video." "Good. Now they know who you really are, instead of the fake version you've been showing them." Over the next few days, the consequences continued to cascade. FitLife Athletics not only canceled Sophie's contract, but demanded return of the advance money they'd paid her. Her other sponsorship deals evaporated as brands rushed to distance themselves from the scandal. Her social media followers were abandoning her in droves, and the comments on her remaining posts were brutal. Maya and Kat, her supposed best friends, had completely disappeared from her life. They were dealing with their own fallout. Maya's lifestyle blog was hemorrhaging sponsors, and Kat was facing questions about her role in covering up Leo's affairs with his other clients. But I wasn't done yet. The final piece of my revenge involved the 3 other men whose wives had been involved with Leo. I'd sent them evidence of their wives' affairs, but I'd also included something else: contact information for each other. David Chen, Marcus Walsh and Robert Santos met for drinks at Murphy's Bar on Tuesday evening. I was there too, sitting in a corner booth, watching as they shared their stories, and realized they'd all been victims of the same operation. This Leo character played all our wives, Marcus was saying, made them think they were special, while he was running the same game on all of them. And they covered for each other, David added bitterly. My wife knew about your wives, and your wives knew about mine. They were all in on it. Robert Santos, the city councilman, was the angriest of the three. Maria used city resources to help this guy. She could have destroyed my career, and she didn't care as long as she was getting her thrills. So what do we do about it? Marcus asked. That's when I stood up and walked over to their table. Gentlemen, I think I can help with that. They recognized me immediately. I'd become something of a local celebrity since the live stream incident. You're Adam Richardson, David said. Sophie's husband. I am, and I think we have some common interests. I sat down without being invited and pulled out a tablet loaded with additional evidence I'd gathered. Leo Martinez didn't just seduce your wives, he systematically exploited them. Financial exploitation, emotional manipulation, and in some cases, blackmail. I have evidence of all of it. I showed them bank records, threatening messages Leo had sent when the women tried to break things off, and photos he'd taken without their consent that he'd used to keep them in line. This goes way beyond adultery, I continued. This is organized fraud, and Leo's not the only one responsible. Your wives weren't just victims, they became accomplices. They helped him target other women, covered for his crimes, and enabled his operation to continue. Marcus leaned forward. What are you proposing? I'm proposing we make sure Leo Martinez and everyone who helped him face the full consequences of their actions. Legal consequences, financial consequences, and social consequences. Over the next hour, I laid out a comprehensive plan for pursuing both criminal charges and civil litigation against Leo and his network of accomplices. The evidence I'd gathered was more than sufficient to support charges of fraud, extortion, and conspiracy. But more importantly, I showed them how to ensure that their wives faced consequences proportional to their participation in Leo's operation. The key is making sure the punishment fits the crime, I explained. They wanted excitement and validation more than they wanted their marriages, so they lose their marriages, their reputations, and their comfortable lives. They wanted to feel special and desired, so they get to feel exposed and humiliated instead. By the end of the evening, all three men had agreed to coordinate their responses. David Chen was filing for divorce and pursuing criminal charges for the money Tiffany had stolen. Marcus Walsh was doing the same with Jessica, plus going after her for business fraud. Robert Santos was not only divorcing Maria, but cooperating with the ethics investigation that would likely end his political career, but destroy hers in the process. More importantly, they were all sharing their evidence with local media outlets, ensuring that the full scope of Leo's operation would become public knowledge. Within a week, the story had exploded beyond just Sophie's viral humiliation. Local news was running investigative reports about the Leo Martinez Affair Network, detailing how a personal trainer had systematically targeted and exploited married women throughout the city. The coverage included interviews with other victims who came forward, financial experts explaining how the fraud had worked, and legal analysts discussing the criminal charges that were being filed. Sophie tried to position herself as a victim, giving a tearful interview to a local reporter about how she'd been manipulated and exploited by a predator. But the evidence I'd released made it clear that she'd been an active participant, not just a victim. The interview backfired spectacularly. Instead of generating sympathy, it reinforced the public perception that Sophie was trying to avoid responsibility for her choices. 2 weeks after the live stream disaster, Sophie moved out of our house. She couldn't afford the mortgage payments without her influencer income, and I wasn't about to help her. She'd destroyed our marriage for a 28-year-old con artist, and now she got to live with the consequences. I kept the house, the cars, and most of our joint assets. Sophie's lawyer tried to argue for a more equitable division, but the evidence of her affair and financial misconduct made that impossible. Leo Martinez was arrested 3 days later on charges of fraud, extortion, and conspiracy. The evidence I'd gathered, combined with testimony from his victims, made the case airtight. He was looking at 5 to 10 years in prison. Maya Chen's lifestyle blog collapsed completely, and she was facing her own legal troubles for her role in facilitating Leo's operation. Kat Williams lost her social media management clients and was working at a coffee shop. Tiffany, Jessica, and Maria were all facing divorce proceedings, criminal charges, and complete social ostracism. The comfortable lives they'd risked for excitement with Leo were gone forever. 6 months later, I was sitting in my home office, monitoring the security systems and enjoying the peace and quiet of a house that was finally free of lies and deception. My phone rang. It was Linda Hartwell. "Adam, I wanted to thank you," she said. "What you did took courage, and it probably saved other women from falling victim to Leo's operation." "I didn't do it to save anyone," I replied. "I did it because they destroyed something that mattered to me, and I wanted them to understand what that felt like." "Well, whatever your motivation, you got results. Leo's in prison, his accomplices are facing consequences, and the whole network has been exposed. Justice served." "Indeed. And Sophie? How is she adjusting to her new circumstances?" I'd heard through mutual acquaintances that Sophie was working at a retail job, living in a small apartment, and trying to rebuild some kind of life from the wreckage of her influencer career. Her social media accounts were gone, her sponsorship deals were history, and her reputation was permanently destroyed. "Sophie's learning what it's like to live without the life I built for her," I said. "She's discovering that actions have consequences, and some consequences last forever." "Do you ever regret how far you took it?" I looked around my home office, at the monitors showing the security systems that protected my property, at the awards and certifications that represented my professional success, at the life I'd built through hard work and dedication. Sophie had been willing to throw all of that away for a few months of excitement with a con artist. She'd lied to me, stolen from me, and humiliated me. She'd chosen her affair over our marriage, her selfish desires over 15 years of partnership. "No," I said, "I don't regret anything. They made their choices and I made mine. The only difference is that my choices were smarter, more thorough, and more effective." I hung up the phone and went back to work. There were always new security threats to monitor, new systems to upgrade, new problems to solve. And if anyone else decided to target me or my life, well, I'd already proven that I was very good at solving problems.